Ladies and gentlemen, will you join me to the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Mason, will you do a roll call?
Ms. Bates. Mr. Eden.
Here.
Mrs. Spraggart.
Here.
Ms. Leopold Sharp.
Here.
Mr. Posnow. Mr. Robinson.
Here.
Mrs. Schrader.
Here.
Ms. Schaefer. Here. And Mr. Tillman.
And just for your information, Ms. Bates is in the Midwest visiting family somewhat unexpectedly, and both Mr. Tillman and Mr. Posnow are out of town on business. So we'll move ahead with our dedicated group of 6. This is the first time in our meeting where we accept public comment. This is our monthly voting meeting, and so we'll accept public comment now and at the end of the meeting. If you have something to say, you're welcome to step up to the mic. We ask that you identify yourself just by name and address. You do not have to live in the district to speak. And we would ask that you limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Are there any members of the audience who would like to speak at this point? If not, there'll be an opportunity at the end as well. I asked the board whether we may accept approval of the minutes of our planning committee meeting of October 10th and our regular monthly meeting of September 26th, 2016. Are there any comments, corrections, or additions? If not, those will be submitted as presented. And Mr. Posnow has asked if Mrs. Schaefer is going to do the treasurer's report.
Would any board member like any of the items considered separately, or are there any questions in any of the items? If not, then I would move approval of the mentioned items.
Second.
Any questions? Ms. Mason, we could do a short roll call on that.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
I can close my report.
Thank you very much. As president, it's my duty to report that the board met following our regular monthly meeting on September 26, 2016, in executive session, as permitted by Section 707 of the Sunshine Act, for the purpose of discussing personnel matters. No official action was taken. And I also need to report that the board met following the planning committee meeting of October the 10th, 2016, in executive session, as permitted by Section 707 of the Sunshine Act, for the purpose of discussing matters of personnel and legal items. No official action was taken. And now it's one of my greatest pleasures as president of the board to recommend our high school seniors who have received recognition from the National Merit Program. There's a group of 7 this year. 4 of them are here this evening, and so I'll introduce them one at a time, and if you'll come up, I have a certificate for you. The first letter of commendation winner is Lucy Hunt, the daughter of Lucy Cook. She's a friend of Megan Hunt. Lucy Cook, the daughter of Mrs. James and Mrs. Melissa Cook.
The kids always catch those things right away.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're right.
Now, I will move on. Another letter of commendation winner, Ms. Megan Hunt, the daughter of Mr. Sean and Mrs. Nicole Hunt. And the third letter of commendation winner, who is here this evening, Thomas Moyer, the son of Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Lisa Moyer. And this evening we have 2 letter of commendation winners who were unable to be here with us. One is Daniel Lee. He's the son of Mr. Nam Young and Mrs. Hyung Suk Lee. And we're also very proud this year to have 2 National Merit semifinalists in our group. Thank you. I certainly will. Another letter of commendation winner who's not here this evening. I hope the whole meeting doesn't go like this. Jack Schultz, who's the son of Mr. John and Mrs. Michelle Schultz. Now, on to our 2 letter of commendation winners. Semifinalists. Okay. We're very proud to have two National Merit Series semifinalists this year. The first is our former board student rep, Elizabeth Ha. She's the daughter of Mr. Chol Ha and Mrs. Unne Ma. And the other National Merit Series finalist who could not be here this evening is Molly Sargent, the daughter of Mr. Jeff and Mrs. Brockwell Sargent. So congratulations to the 7 of you, the 4 of you who were able to be here. We're so very proud of you. And as Elizabeth can attest, your Suburban School Board meetings are incredibly interesting. They are a wonderful example of American democracy at work. However, you might well have homework to do. And if that's the case, we fully understand if you feel it's most appropriate to depart at this point, to do homework or go to band practice. Thanks very much and congratulations. About it, yeah, not necessarily well done. Now, are there some administrators who had to stand in the hall, or do you think you all squeezed in?
Oh, we all squeezed in.
Well, feel free to move.
Well, we can spread out.
Spread up and do
I'll do
Moving on to item D on the agenda. You remember that at our, in September at planning and again in October planning, we talked about whether or not we wanted to send any members of the school board to the National School Boards Association Conference in March. And so based on what we have in the budget, I'm going to present a motion. If you're in agreement, I'd appreciate a second, and then we can have any manner of discussion that you would like. So I move that the board send 2 members of the York Suburban School Board to the National School Boards Association Conference in March 2017. The estimated cost for each to attend is $2,050. For a total estimated expenditure of $4,100. I so move.
Seconded.
Thank you. Now, if there are board members who want to speak about this, please. Have a mic,
I have it for weeks, actually.
You can share mine.
Yeah,
Nice, you've got 2.
All right. Yeah, I actually have been giving this a lot of thought, and I think I can count on one finger the number of times that we've had 4 people willing and able to go to NSBA. And I'd really like to have a discussion about encouraging that involvement and that education. Anyone who's gone, I know you've gone many times as well, about the value that this conference provides. And I just recently saw that Richard, and I know most principals, Frederick, was awarded the Tim Allwine Award at PSBA this year, and he and his fellow cohorts from Penn Manor, including their superintendent, I can sit with them every year at a dinner. That school district, Penfield Central, a number of school districts do send significant representation of their volunteer school board members. So I, again, would personally like to see encourage those members to go.
Are you suggesting allocating additional dollars?
Yes.
Well, then perhaps you should amend the motion. I think we need something concrete to
well, I didn't know if you wanted to discuss it or if you wanted an amended motion. I'll do whichever.
Is there more general discussion, or do you wish to amend the motion?
Well, you made the motion, so you gotta do the amending.
No, I don't have to amend
Everybody
it.
can amend the motion. We can make a motion to.
I was just saying, having been there, I think it's a great experience. I would like to see us get as many people going as we possibly can over the years. I know many school districts are kind of rotated through, you have 2 or 3 people and a different set of people go each year or something like that. No district has, unless somebody really wants to go every year or something like that. If we send all 4 people, then we're talking about over $8,000. Is that correct? Is that my arithmetic is correct? Something
Based
like
on
that.
what I saw for airfare, yes.
Yeah, it would be, it's some, which would probably use up both of those categories that we had. Didn't we have $5,000 in one fund and $2,500 in another fund?
Well, and a portion of that was already spent.
Yeah,
It
we
was
spent
more
$500,
than used that
yeah,
up.
we spent $500 for PSBA, so, I don't know what else will come down the pike during the course of the year that we might want to attend, not that the money probably could be found someplace else, but, I'm wondering if these people really wanna go and that kind of thing. I know, Lois, you've been.
I've been once.
You went
I've
to
been once.
Chicago one time.
I mean, my own situation, I don't often have the flexibility with regard to time off, which I happen to have this year. So that's sort of one reason as to why I'm, and I've thrown my name in the hat, so to speak. I mean, I certainly feel as though I benefited from the experience when I attended before. I mean, I think the way Kathy phrased it is good too, that, you know, there are people who are willing to go and interested in attending. Who knows what next year brings, I guess is my point. So if if the money is there, we have that option. I mean, I think it would be nice if everybody who is interested and willing was able to go.
But do you want to propose your amendment?
Sure. I would, propose to amend the motion, just read it. I would move that, 4 members attend the NSBA conference in March 2017, and I guess to go with the estimated cost of, a total expenditure of $8,200.
Is there a second to the amendment? Okay, now then, let's discuss then, and Brooke, please correct me if my parliamentary procedure is wrong, then we need to discuss the amendment.
If they wanna go, I mean, I have a strong feeling one way or the other, if, you know, if it goes over when we about $7,500, we budgeted to 2,000 something, I don't know whether we're having any reasons or not. I will tell you that NSBA is coming to Philadelphia in 2019, if anybody wants to follow that opportunity. It'll be right in our backyard.
Any other comments? Mr. Robbins?
Just a question, and I feel a little awkward here because I'm one of the people that said I'm available.
No, don't feel awkward.
I just don't want it to look inappropriate or self-serving. Yeah, I might run for office someday. If we're all agreed though that attending the NSBA is worth it, I mean, is the cost more than offset by what we gain in the information we gather and what we learn? And I would defer to all of you who've attended. While you're marshaling your thoughts, I mean, I think there are those, probably none of you, who have ever attended a conference where you walk out thinking, why did I attend this place? Why did I sign up in the first place? And I'm gathering from all of you that this is not one of those examples, that this is really a solid, firm educational experience for everybody who goes. Am I wrong in saying that?
I think those people to varying degrees can say that. You know, it depends why you want to go. Do you want to go for the sessions? Do you want to go for the networking with the people? Do you want to go to a specific city and, you know, whatever it is? Everybody has it. But you obviously would want to go because there's something to be learned, either on a personal level or something you're bringing back to the district very specifically or something like that. I mean, there's always something to do.
Mrs. Shea?
Well, I would just say in those 2.5 days, there are over 200 workshops to your point, Ellen, with respect to are you going for something specific? And I mean, often my biggest dilemma when I'm there is trying to choose one of maybe 4 sessions that's going on at the same time, which one to go to, because there are so many that are of interest to me. But I think it's all of that. I think it's the networking. I think the city doesn't matter so much to me, but it's the networking. It's the and for me, it's the education. I like to learn. That's my thing. I like to go hear things that are of interest to me or could benefit the district. So I don't think I've ever been to one that there's not ever one that I've been to that I thought, well, that was a waste of money. You know, if you don't like a particular session you walk into, then you walk into another one, so that, you know, you have a backup. So. And there's so many to choose from.
Mr. Eaton, do you have any comments you want to share?
I guess it just comes down to, is it in the budget, can we pay for it? It seems like it's worthwhile, for the amount of time people spend on the school board, we get zero compensation. This is something that benefits it seems like sounds like people have been spending their own money for years to go do this, is that correct?
I have, yes.
Which is commendable, and obviously the ability to support them, so, I don't know, I'm for it. I just don't know, like, how it all works with budget lines, like where the money comes from. Because I don't think that was actually, was that ever originally in the budget?
Well, we put enough money in the budget this year to go to send 2 members, and then to have some additional dollars for some other developments that would the whole board. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think it's a matter of whether the money is there to.
I have a question for Dr. Merkel. When we sat down last spring, Ellen and Kathy and I, with you and Corinne, to look at the budget, and put this money in to send 2 members, and I want to make sure I'm correct. Can you share with me what the budget is, one of you, to send administrators to conference?
I don't know the amount.
It varies.
And that's where we would pull the money from. We transfer money from the administrative travel to board for this opportunity to increase that budget if that was the decision.
I mean,
for the total amount or
for the difference, whatever board gap was left, we have to pull the money from somewhere. So that's the place that I would begin with, would be the administrative.
well, and I guess I should share that I do not discount at all the value of this conference. But I'm concerned if we are not, and do we routinely send our administrators, more than an hour or 2 away? I mean, we probably send them to Philadelphia or Baltimore or something like that.
Administratively, we try to attend national conferences when they are within driving distance, and we don't go overnight. That's generally our administrative guideline. It's not a written guideline, it's not a written policy, but that's been our recent practice. Similarly with teachers. If teachers have an opportunity for a national conference because it's in Baltimore or Philadelphia, then we will do what we can to support that. We'll occasionally have something in Pittsburgh or New York City where folks go for an overnight, but generally it doesn't include travel. There are different categories than board members, and so I recognize that, but that's been the practice in recent years.
And so I would just share with you, my only concern is if we expend something in the neighborhood of $8,000, we have expended all of the funds we budgeted for the year. We'll take some of the administration budget. And the one thing I heard the board talk about that we thought we might want to do next spring was to bring someone in to really work with us in a strategic manner to plan for our upcoming negotiations. And I think this would limit the resources we would have for something like that unless we took more money from the administrative budget. So that I share with that as my concern for sending 4 board members. Mrs. Schaefer.
is that the case, Dr. Miller?
That we would pull money from the administrative?
No, from the person we were going to have brought in for the board.
There wouldn't be any money left because we would have spent the entire budget line and more.
No, I'm asking if that's where that money would be pulled from.
Yes, it's a professional development fund for administrators that, yes, we would pull that.
So, and I just want to go back to my other question though, with respect to, I thought there were different categories when we spoke in the spring. So that not all of these dollars would be pulled from an administrative conference fund. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand?
Again, that would be split between travel and professional development and the administrators as well. For example, I went to a national conference last year because we had a board member attend NSBA, and so I traveled to that as well. So I'm telling you practice, and then I tell you there was an exception. I would have to consider that with this trip as well. So I don't want to suggest it would eliminate all opportunities, but that it is from the professional development and travel funds that for administrative conferences that we would pull what we need for the board, keeping in mind that if there is a speaker on negotiations, for example, I at least will be a part of that, certainly Mrs. Mason would, and perhaps Dr. Maloney. So there would be learning that would take place from that end for us as well. So it's not like we won't have professional development opportunities. They would potentially be reduced. I can't tell you that I'm fretting over that. But I have to share honestly where that money would come from, and that's where we would have to go.
As our chief administrator, do you motion that go because we have 4 board members going to NSBA?
Yes. Yes. I think when we have 4 board members learning something, I should be a part of that learning, and now...
I don't disagree
Yeah.
with you, I just didn't know what you're thinking.
We'll weigh that against our budgetary...
Correct.
Budget. And what other administrators need to, wish to.
But if there were only 2 going, would you still feel the need to go? Or is it, I mean, it's less, and it sort of goes down with the soul. It seems like it's growing as more, if you're saying 4 go, you feel you should go, which makes sense. But if there were 2, is that the same feeling?
Yes, not as strong.
Maybe.
I struggled with not going to PSBA when we had 2 members there, but it was on a weekend following another circumstance. So but I feel like as board members are learning, I should be familiar with what they're learning and be supportive of that. But again, sending 4 board members won't prohibit me from going. That won't be the deciding factor. I don't want to suggest that there's a hardship imposed by that. It's a question of where we put those dollars in any given year.
Mr. Roberts?
Since the following year, it's going to be in Philadelphia.
2 years.
2 years, okay, 2 years. Just a thought. What if 3 board members went? 1 falls out. That really keeps the allocation under the allotment, right? It's still a critical mass, and it gives us some flexibility.
And then the some districts only send people every other year, we can continue this work for 2019 and, in the following years, not to make this more complicated.
Well, I was just gonna say, every board does it different. So, I mean, you know that. Some years, some rotate. The schools that I talked about, they always have significant board members, Penfield, Penn Manor, Central. They always have superintendent, at least 3 or 4 board members, sometimes even 5. So it's all in how you decide to do it. I mean, it's not, I don't think rotating is the norm any more than sending 4 or 5 is the norm. It's whatever.
But there are different formats for deciding.
Yes, absolutely, sure. But I think it's, I want to be careful that it doesn't sound like we're deviating the norm because there isn't one. That's my point.
Well, is there more discussion? Do we want to, I guess we need to vote on the amendment motion first?
Yes, and then you can do a voice vote on that, and then you need to vote on the motion as amended with that.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Mason, we're going to vote on the amended motion, which according to my notes would be that the board send 4 members to the NSBA conference at an approximate cost of $8,200 total. That's the amended motion.
Okay.
And does there need to be a second since it was amended or not?
We did.
1 second.
That's right.
The amendment, 1 second.
Voice vote for this.
Schrader,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Fryrick,
Yes.
Leopold Sharp,
No.
and Robinson.
Yes.
Okay. Fine, thank you. Now, we would vote on the motion as amended. That has already been seconded, so let's do voice on that also.
You want another one? Okay, again, Schrader.
I'm confused.
We're voting on what we just voted on, but it's the original motion, it was amended, so first we had to vote to move the amendment forward, now we're voted on the
Okay,
amendment.
so yes, I say the same thing again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eden,
Yes.
Schaefer. Yes. Pryork,
Yeah.
Leopold Sharp,
No.
Robinson.
Yes.
Okay, fine, well, then we voted to send 4 members, there are 4 members who wish to attend, so that's fairly straightforward. And I know that you've all already made your conference registration, and I believe put that on your own credit card. So it would be appropriate, Dr. Merkel, for them to apply for reimbursement for those fees at this point in time. And then your other expenses are at the conclusion of the conference. And if you have questions, you should speak to Ms. Irwine about how to handle that reimbursement. Is that correct, or Ms. Mason? Which one?
We'll start with Mr. Irwine to filter them.
Question, did they actually pay or did guarantee the credit card? For the room? Didn't actually pay?
Not for the rooms, but they paid for the conference fee. Right, but so...
Oh, the district didn't pay for the conference?
No, they were locked out, and the day that you could sign up, Ms. Irwine was off, so they all registered
Oh,
separately.
registered, okay, I got you. I did not realize that they all had
They had,
registered.
yes. So she'll be your contact person for that. Wonderful. Now, I have one other item that's not on the agenda under the President's report, and that's to report out on the nominating process. I apologize for forgetting to put this on. Thank you to Mr. Eden, who offered to chair the nominating committee. Unfortunately, to date, no one else has offered to serve with Mr. Eden. So we need to find a couple of people to serve with Mr. Eden, and once members step forward, you should speak with Dr. Merkel, find a time that's convenient, because this has to be a public meeting, it has to be advertised. And we generally do it in this room, so we find a time when this room is available. And it should be during the month of November. Ideally, you've done this before, Mrs. Schreier, ideally so that you can report out at the November voting meeting on the 21st, the slate of office. And members of the board who wish to run for the office of President or Vice President should contact you to alert you to their interest. Anything I forgot? So are there any volunteers here on the spot to serve on the nominating committee?
If you volunteer, does that mean you're ineligible to be
No,
nominated?
it does not.
But I'll volunteer.
But if you're there, you can argue strongly
I
against
could talk something.
being nominated, if that's your position.
Yeah. No one would be that sure.
All right, so it looks as though Mr. Robinson will sit with you, and we will, I will email the rest of the board, so the 3 members who are not here would know to contact you and me if they wish to serve. Any other things? I have nothing else related to the nominating committee. Are there other questions or concerns? All right, then I would move the conclusion of my report, and Dr. Merkel, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ms. Leopold Sharp. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to start out with something that's not on the agenda. You should have found a program in your folder along with a magnet that should go on your refrigerator touting the National Blue Ribbon School that our high school was awarded. We will do a more formal presentation of that, likely, well, at some later point. It's a little tricky because we want to do a picture with the banner, with the whole board, but with 3 members missing tonight, it wasn't the night to do it, and we know that there'll be a member missing in November, and so we want to schedule it at the right time, but we'll get back to you on when that date will be. But in the meantime, we wanted you to have a token that the program and the magnet were distributed at the football game on Friday night, a week ago. So that's a great accomplishment, amazing that our high schools can recognize as such, and it's a real positive accolade.
Sorry, when is the presentation in Washington?
November 7 and 8 is the actual luncheon presentation. So it's board meeting on the 7th. Dr. Ellis and Mr. Wickenheiser will be there for both days. I'll be, I think, driving back and forth volunteer for both. My presence is much less important than theirs. That's been made very clear.
Not by me. People much more powerful than me.
First on the formal agenda is the district-affiliated report. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this evening Kristen Marquis. While we miss her tremendously as an administrative assistant at the high school, she has rebounded and come back to us now as the president of the Booster Club. You'll remember at last month's meeting, I reported out that our president resigned suddenly as he had to move out of town, and Mrs. Marquis jumped in, and we're grateful for that and for her presence this evening to give us an update on the All Sports Booster Club.
Thank you, Dr. Merkel, and all of you. As Dr. Merkel said, I'm Kristen Marquis. It is my great honor to be serving as the new president of the York Suburban All Sports Booster Club. A huge thank you to Carol Kaufman and Jerry Anderson, my predecessors. They certainly shepherded this organization and done a fabulous job, and they've left some very big shoes to fill. But I'm very excited to be serving with a great executive committee. We have Josh Light, who will be the vice president this year, Mary Riding will continue as secretary, and Michelle Schultz as treasurer. So we're really looking forward to a fabulous year. Those of you who don't know me, I'm also the proud mama of 2 York Suburban student athletes. My daughter Evie does tennis and manages track. She's a sophomore this year, and RJ is a freshman, hoping to do basketball and baseball. So I'm thrilled to be a part of this organization. As you all know, the Booster Club encompasses all York Suburban sports. We do fundraising and events to raise money to try to help the teams out and things that maybe the budget isn't covering, as well as scholarships. We do events, we do concession stands, we sell yard signs, we sell spiritware, all in an effort to raise some funds. I wanted to fill you all in on a little bit of where the funds have gone in the past few months. YS teams have used their Booster Club funds to purchase volleyball uniforms and team shirts. We paid summer league entrance fees for basketball, soccer, field hockey, and lacrosse. We have new cross-country pullovers for the cross-country team. We have new track uniforms, new swim team warm-ups and swim bags, baseball hats and new bases for the field, and new field hockey goalie equipment. So the Booster Club has also been very busy with various events and fundraising. We hosted the boy-girl soccer tournament in September, which was a very successful, gorgeous September day. We raised almost $4,000, and a huge thank you to the fantastic volunteers that spearheaded that event. That was Wendy Bulgarelli and Bethany Lehman, and they also had a huge cadre of volunteers behind them. We hosted the JV Girls Volleyball Tournament, which also raised almost $4,000. For that, we hosted 15 teams here at York Suburban. A big thank you to Wendy McBride and Carol Kaufman. They did an amazing job with the concession stand, and again, we're backed up by some fabulous volunteers. On the event front, we are also looking forward to the upcoming Winter Girls Basketball Tournament. This year, we're just doing the girls, not the boys. In the past, we've done 2 basketball tournaments. In the spring, we will host the JV Boys Volleyball Tournament. And in a joint effort with the York Suburban Music Boosters Association, the much-anticipated annual Herb Schmidt Relays. I just mentioned the York Suburban Music Boosters Association, and I just want to say we continue at the All Sports Booster Club to be grateful for our continuing partnership with this organization. Their volunteers and our volunteers provided an open concession stand for over 42 events just in the fall season this year. We were keeping that Big Orange Cafe stocked and busy. And now as the fall season comes to a close, our student athletes are beginning to submit their applications for scholarships. We do accept those at the end of each season, so student athletes may submit them at the end of fall, end of the winter season, and end of the spring. We're looking forward to offering those again. Last year, the Booster Club awarded 8 scholarships, and hopefully we can do that or even better this year, depending on our funds. So I know this was brief, but I just want to say, on behalf of the Booster Club and myself and all of our York Suburban student athletes, just thank you, all of you, for your support of this organization. As school directors, you really have provided a community of encouragement to all of us in this organization and to our students, and we are grateful. So, thank you. If anybody has any questions, I'm open. Just remember, I've been president for 3 weeks, so don't let me, but if I can answer anything, I'm happy to.
Questions?
Anyone? Okay. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you for
I have
coming.
visitors from Massachusetts, so please excuse my leaving, but it's great to see you all, and thank you again for having me tonight.
Thank you.
Mrs. Markey, for you as well as the entire All Sports Booster Club, on behalf of the administration and the board, we thank you for your service. It's an organization that really pays a tremendous amount of attention to our student athletes and does a great deal of service, so we thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Markle. I'll share that with the organization for sure.
Next, under my report is the student enrollment report as of October 1st of this school year, and Mrs. Fryerick will be very pleased to see the bottom right-hand corner. We ticked the clock to 10/1/2015 to show that comparative number because we now have the October 1st enrollment. We will, the most notable fluctuation is with the charter and cyber charter enrollment, and that is really, it's a matter of the schools reporting accurate numbers to us, and that will fluctuate probably for another month until things settle in and that the charter schools actually catch up to the students that they have. Other than that, no significant changes to the enrollment report. Are there any questions? Mrs. Fryer?
Yes, what on the, homeschool, is it really say like that? I mean, and watches them and works with the homeschool people, they're responsible for never turning certain things in, I believe.
And that's the job that Mrs. Gross fulfills, and they must turn in paperwork every year to register as homeschool students, and at the end of the year to verify that they've completed the expectations.
Come back for any testing?
No.
Okay, so they don't do any of that. Okay, I just didn't know. And then, I noticed the elementary, I saw that there's a big discrepancy someplace, and I'm trying to figure out, maybe it wasn't this one. I guess some of it is at the kindergarten level. I know that Valley View doesn't have nearly as many students as Yorkshire does, and the Yorkshire classes seem somewhat larger for our littlest learners. Do we have extra help for some of them, or?
We don't. They're still within the guidelines.
I get that.
And again, the reason for that is that we cannot predict those numbers. We're working from live birth rates as reported by PELS, but it's a tough prediction.
You know, I just have a concern when some of these teachers are carrying, two classes that are, 19 and 20, each, morning and afternoon or something like that. I think that's, just curious if we give them any,
If the board would like to revisit the guidelines, we certainly can do that. If you note that we have some classes at Yorkshire, for example, we do have a class of 16, and so when we look at the needs of students, some of that is balanced purposefully by the administrator.
But then we also, we just have 20, a couple of 19s, and just the classes at Valley View, I guess just because the numbers that are there are, are small, and I think that makes a big difference to my way of thinking, because they're little expensive. Some of them need attention, and I know you do try to balance the needs of the students, but just looking at it, kind of interesting.
And if we take a look, it's a great example, Mrs. Fryer, of the enrollment management and personnel management questions that arise with the split of the district in the manner in which we've chosen to split it. Let's take a look at the smallest class at Valley View of 14. Now, if we go down also at Valley View and we look at Wise, that's our full-day kindergarten. So that's capped at 14. So there are 4 sections at Valley View of 15, 18, 14, and 16. So if we took those 14 and we eliminated that section, and we split that 3 ways into our other 3 classes, if you're following me, then we have a class of 20, 20, 20, with still 8 students to place. So we're capped in all 3 with 8 more students.
I get it, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game.
Then we put that half person over to Yorkshire, and then we can get those classes down to 15. But again, with that split, that's our personnel and enrollment management issue we have with the difference.
And there's just such I think a very large difference between Valley View and Yorkshire. As far as kindergarten is concerned, I don't think I've
Actually, we're quite pleased. We think that's a pretty small class size differential from 14 to 12.
Well, but just total number of kindergartens.
Yes,
that's
agreed with that.
District-wide, that's
Yes. Yeah, that's why we put the extra class in at Valley, or excuse me, at Woodland.
Okay.
Dr. Michael, would you remind us about the guidelines?
Sure. 18 to 20 is the primary. 20,
And third.
That's the age group I was concerned about. I
okay,
expected them-
up to 22 in third grade. The administration has recommended that we move that to 24. To date, the board has not supported that.
Right.
And then it's up to 24 in our fourth and fifth grade. Sound right? Thank you.
Well, it gradually goes up this year.
20, 22, and 24.
I'll defer. Can I-
Other questions?
Can I have a question? The 61 cyber charter, I'm kind of interested if that's a larger number. I'm more interested if they are really our students. And do we now have to vet all this element addresses?
We do, and when the billing comes in, we look at the addresses and we do some mailings. We actually, Mrs. Gross doesn't yet know this, but we have the first set of data from the charter schools with respect to their assessment performances so that we can compare that, and we use that mailing as an opportunity to verify addresses in case something comes back undeliverable, then it's one we follow up on.
Is that a larger number than we've had in the past?
It is not, it's a smaller number, but again, it's not settled in yet. I anticipate that number growing. We've been in the 90s.
We've been in the hundreds.
In the low hundreds.
For cyber.
So.
Well, in fact, the year I started here, we were actually at 124.
Then we put that major initiative in to reach out and to verify addresses. We did that in my last year as assistant superintendent, or second last year. Other questions on enrollment? That's a hot topic tonight. All right, that concludes my report on student enrollment. We'll next give a brief update on full-day kindergarten. We got great press this morning, more than I expected and perhaps wanted, with our meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Valley View. It is open to the community for us to review where we are with regard to the study of the value of full-day kindergarten and the opportunity before us. You'll recall we surveyed parents, we had parent input at Let's Talk YS, and now this open forum in addition to the work that Dr. Maloney has led with the committee studying full-day kindergarten. So we expect to have prepared for the board a motion, a recommendation from the administration, or a non-recommendation. So we'll either be silent on the subject, which means we stay where we are, or we'll come forward with a recommendation for change. We'll wait and see what the community input is tomorrow night. The committee will finish with its work, and we'll be prepared in November. Are there any questions? On the side, putting in at least as much work as certainly Mrs. Mason, and we'll be working on the budget from a budgetary perspective as to whatever that recommendation comes out of committee, what are our opportunities to pay for that before we come to the board for that recommendation. No questions? We'll move to the student demographic report. Mrs. Gross is here this evening. This is the third year that we've provided this report. You'll recall the first year we did it was because we saw such a huge influx in the number of new students. And so now we're at a place where Mrs. Gross, at the end of this, will start to look at some of the trends over these 3 years.
Thank you. All right, so there we are. We are YS, and that was our first district-wide Orange and Black Day. So you see a lot of our little ones there in orange and black. Alrighty, just looking at our withdrawal students, this year we had 170 students withdraw from us over the summer. And you can see the large number of our students are going to our neighboring school districts. We had 20 who were actually going to cyber charter schools, and we had 35 of our students who were transferring to other states. Our new students coming into us, we have 62 of them who are coming to us from our neighboring school districts, and look at that, 20 of them are coming back to us from charter schools, so it's kind of like an even number there. And we had 134 total, so this number is lower than what we've seen in the previous 2 years. And looking at our students, our new students, looking at our racial ethnicity, we can see that our Black and Hispanic populations are our largest populations besides our white students that are coming into us. So 15.7, or almost 16% of our new students are Black, and about 16% are Hispanic, and we have 59% of them are white students. Free and reduced services here with free and reduced lunches. 45.5% of all of our new students are either receiving free lunches or reduced lunches, and 12.7% are receiving special ed services, and 6.7% are receiving ELL, English as a Second Language services. Let's look at our proficiency levels, though. How are our new students doing? Well, they look pretty good here in grades 1 and 2. We can see in math, 54% of our students coming into us in grades 1 and 2 are proficient in math, and that 70.8% is a rather unusually high number for us, but it's great. So the new students this year in grades 1 and 2, 54% proficient in math and almost 71% proficient in reading. However, when we're looking at grades 3 to 8, we see something very different. Only 27.8% of all of our new students are proficient in math and 40% proficient in reading. So it's quite lower than what we're seeing in grades 1 and 2. Grades 9 through 12, obviously we don't have the PSAs to look at, so we need to look at placement. So where are our new students being placed when they're coming in? In English, 42% of them are being placed in our honors and our CP classes, college prep. But 57.9% are really in our general classes. In mathematics, we're looking at 47% of those students being placed in honors and college prep, and again about 53% into our general classes. So again, we're looking at a very academically engaged group of students. So let's look at some comparative data. Just very quickly, you can just kind of look at the slide there, just showing you where our students were drawn to and where they're enrolling. And again, our cyber charter schools is a wash, 2020. We're looking at our private schools. We actually received 7 more students from our private schools than what we had withdrawing from us. And York City, we had 13 students who were withdrawing to York City, but we have 24 coming to us from York City. Some comparative data here between our York Suburban School District numbers and our new students. So when we're looking at our district numbers in our racial ethnicity, I looked at what our district numbers are, and then I put down what our new students are, and then I looked at the comparative differences. And if you look at our Black population, you can see that our district shows we're about 6.5% Black, but our new students coming in are at 15.7%. So that shows us about a positive 9.2%. Hispanic growth, we see 6.5% district-wide, but coming into us, 16.4% of our new students this year were Hispanic. And if we look at our multiracial, we're down this year, which is a trend. Our previous 2 years, we were up in that category. And our white students typically were 74% in our district. Our new students coming in are 59, or a negative 15% difference there. So we can see that we definitely are growing in our minority population. Free and reduced lunch services. Our district totals about 31% of our students are receiving either free or reduced lunches. New students coming in, 45.5. So we can see that we're having a much easier economically disadvantaged group of students. IEP services, district-wide, 9.6. New students of 12.7. Again, needing more services. LEP, English language learners there. Our district numbers are at 3%. Our new students are coming in at 6.7%. So we can see the need for services for our new students. 3-year comparison here. Let's see what's been going on. Alrighty, so if we're looking from 2014 to 2016, and we're looking at our racial ethnicity, we can see in the average over there that we definitely are growing in our Black, our Hispanic, and our multiracial populations. And our white population is about 60%, which means that our minority population we're growing at about 40%. Services, again, looking at those 3 years, you can see that those free and reduced lunches are 46% for our new students over a 3-year period of average. IEP services, almost 16% of our new students over 3 years. English language learners, about 6%. So we are seeing a steady increase in the needs of our students. So we're not seeing any anomalies there. We're seeing the consistent that we are getting some needy students in for us. Let's look at our academic levels here. Grades 1 and 2. Over a 3-year period, the average there for proficiency in math is 61 or 63%, let's say, let's round it off. And reading is 63%, which means that 40% of our newbies coming into us in those 2 grade levels are not proficient. We're looking at grades 3 through 8. You can see a tremendous dip here in that bracket. 31% over a 3-year period are showing that they are proficient in math, and about 38% in reading. There's a large percentage that are not. 9 through 12 placement, we're looking at about 50% of our students, new students coming in, a little bit more, 53%, are being placed in honors and college prep, which leaves about close to 50% who are going into our general. And in English, we have about 47% again in college prep and honors, which again is like a 50-50, 50% back into general class. So academically, very needy students, especially for grade 3 as well. Summary, very quickly. First time, we saw that we had more students withdrawing than we had entering this year. We see that York Suburban continues to grow in the number of students that are eligible for free or reduced lunches. We see the diversity of York Suburban School District continuing to grow, especially with our Black, Hispanic, and multiracial population. And the number of students requiring special education and English language services has remained consistent over the past 3 years. And our academically proficient levels of our new students continue to show a need for academic support. So our new students over the past 3 years are still showing that we are becoming more diverse, and the needs of our students are still very needy. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gross. No questions? I think the board's catching on to the themes that we've seen as a result of these reports over the course of 3 years. We appreciate the work that's going into these, Mrs. Gross. Thank you. Next, under superintendent's report, is to report out on our broad budget goals for the 16-17 preparation for the 17-18 school year. In preparation for the 17-18 budget, the administration will do the following. We will present to the board a budget not to exceed the 2.5 index by May 8th of 2017 is our first goal. Secondly, our goal is to present to the board in timely fashion all information and materials needed to make informed decisions. For example, if we come forward with a recommendation for full-day kindergarten, that will be in November, the timeliness of that to build into the budget over time. The third goal is to evaluate all programs to identify areas in which expenditures can be reduced with minimal impact on students. That process has already begun and will continue. The fourth goal is to seek additional revenue sources. Fifth, to make fiscally responsible recommendations to the board, making prudent use of all resources. So the 5 broad budget goals for the 17-18 budget preparation. Any questions? The cabinet will be working with these goals at the forefront. We have cabinet meetings on Tuesday mornings. Tomorrow, one of our primary focus areas is, of course, the 17-18 budget. So we'll have these goals in front of us. Thank you. Next on the superintendent's report, the administration recommends board approval of the confidential administrative disciplinary hearing agreement for student number 213455. Following a hearing conducted by the board appointed hearing officer, who is me, the agreement sets forth the details of the recommendation in response to the violation of the district code of conduct. The student will complete a 10-day out-of-school suspension, a 15-day expulsion, and be placed on social probation for the remainder of 2016. Is there a motion?
Second.
Is that the calendar year 2016, it's not the school
It
year?
is the calendar, 2016.
Mason, would you prefer a voice vote by name or a general roll call? Is it okay?
Either is fine.
Let's just do a general roll call.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
The administration also recommends board approval of the confidential administrative disciplinary hearing agreement for student number 211400, following a hearing conducted by board appointing hearing officer Michelle Merkel. And sets forth the details of the recommendation in response to the violation of the district code of conduct. The student will complete a 10-day out-of-school suspension, 20-day expulsion, and be placed on social probation for the remainder of 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Mason will have a solid roll call vote as well.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
And finally, it gives me great pleasure to recommend board approval of the agreement for employment with Mrs. Corinne Mason as the Director of Finance for a period of 3 years, starting on July 1, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Mason, let's do a voice vote on that.
Eden?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Leopold Sharp?
Yes.
Freireich?
Yes.
Congratulations, Mrs. Mason, and thank you for your time. And that concludes my report.
Ms. Mason, the business office report.
Okay. The administration recommends board approval of a 3-year contract with Jocelyn Yearbook in the amount of $32,190. This would be for the years 2017-18 through 2019-20.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? We can have a consolidated roll call, short roll call on that.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. Next item, the administration recommends board approval of Harry L. Peoples to continue to be exempt from paying real estate taxes for the property located at 1846 Clover Lane, York, PA, as approved by the Pennsylvania State Veterans Commission. This would take effect for the 2016-17 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? A short roll call.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. The administration recommends board approval of the advertising and soliciting of bids for snow removal for the district.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Short roll call then.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. The administration recommends board approval of a proposal for professional services required for renovations to the stadium field with Turf Track and Court LLC in the amount of $23,795.
So moved.
Second.
Short roll call.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. Two informational items that were not on here at the time of the agenda. We did get some more information on PlanCon's reimbursement today for 15-16. They are in the process of, the state is in the process of going through with their borrowing, and are telling us at the end of November, we will be receiving $509,895. So that's some good news there. And also, on Friday, we did have our bond settlement for $9.8 million.
How much now?
9.8. Any questions on the food service report? That concludes my report.
I have one question. Do we have to reopen the budget to accept that plan?
No.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Ms. Leopold, if we may, there are times where we question, there's been some changing practices in the approval of contracts, and Ms. Say looked at me, and I'll just let her comment.
Sure. I just mentioned under business office report, the fact that you have your yearbook contract there for board approval is significant. That's an area, in particular yearbooks or things done at high schools, where in many, many districts, administrators at the building level often sign off on those contracts, which is technically in violation of the school code, where any contract over $100 should come to the board. So it is a common area that is caught in audits. Sometimes it's not caught because we can't discern who actually signs the document, but it's happened for many, many years in districts, and often the terms of those agreements are inequitable, so it's good to have a business office review, because you want to know what you're signing, what you're approving. So it is absolutely the best practice and consistent with the TA code. So thank you for doing it. I don't see it very often.
Our pleasure. Moving ahead, Mr. Stewart.
So today marks the first day of the second mark period, so all the grades can be finished by next month. Last week on Wednesday, the juniors took the PSATs that the high school provided for them. It was about a 4-hour-long test. It took up the majority of the day. It was fairly easy. Some students thought it was harder than others, clearly, but it prepares you for the SAT, which juniors should be signing up for at the moment. The sophomores are taking, I think it's optional, like, to pay for it.
We'll be providing it for me also in the
Okay,
spring.
in the spring time, so they'll take the 50 feet. The juniors are also taking it to see if they can qualify for the national qualifying test, which we honored a few students with tonight. This morning was collaboration day. The students enjoyed a lot. I know that they get to come in an hour late and sleep in. For sports, cross country, both teams are racing at districts on Saturday. Both teams are expected to win, the boys handily, and the girls, their only real opponent is Northern and/or Wyomissing, which they have beaten Wyomissing in the past, and they're expected to beat Northern. So fingers crossed that they should do well. This past Tuesday was counties. For the boys, Josh Kerr finished first on our team and 7th overall. Counties is not a team-based winning event, but more individual. The top 15 this year, individual. The 25, sorry, my bad. Individuals got a medal. And then Lena Strong finished first for the girls with 12. So both teams had rough races, but we were glad that it was at counties, which it wasn't a team race, and not district or state, which we got to do well. For volleyball, tonight the girls play in the championship playoffs against Stallone. If they win tonight, they'll play against either York Catholic or Central tomorrow night at Dallastown High School. The soccer season for both teams is over. The girls made it to the playoffs, but lost in the first round to Dallastown 1-0. For football, we're 6-2. We've had 6 straight wins for the Trojans, which is fantastic. Kind of similar to last year, and hopefully we'll do well. The fall sports are ending, but the winter sports are just beginning. I know that the girls' basketball team is starting up on Wednesday. They have like their introductory meeting at 6:15. For band, 2 weeks ago we had a show at Ephrata. It went well. This week we have a showcase at Dover, we have a football game, and then we have the Halloween parade on Sunday, which should be fun. And finally, this Thursday is the trick-or-treat night at the high school, in which all the organizations, the different grade levels, get a classroom door, and then they decorate to a certain theme, and then younger children from the community come in, and then they collect candy, and they walk around the school, and then cool idea. And that's it for my report.
Any questions of Mr. Stewart? Great report.
I'd like to add an update. Volleyball won the first game, 25-19.
Oh, well, let me tell you, Delone is outstanding.
Yes, they won a few years in a row now.
Yeah, they're very, very strong.
So, good.
And the girls, this is counties tonight. Even if they lose tonight, they got into district.
Oh, they ended
So
it.
they will be in district. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Stewart? Well, you think maybe not. So you have a football game, a band competition, the Halloween parade, and district?
I can't go to district because I have band. Because of the rush.
Oh, okay. All right, well, you'll be
I'll
cheering.
be thinking about it.
All right, thank you.
Some of us will cheer very, very loud. Okay.
I'll be there for states though, which is good. Everybody
Cheers
should be
louder
there.
then.
That's all.
Let's move on to committee reports. This is Safety Communications Committee.
Sure. Detailed athletic accomplishments are on the link there with specifically girls tennis, volleyball, soccer, as well as cross country and golf, and the communication report is included as well. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mrs. Farmer, the Facilities Committee report.
Okay, the minutes of September 14th have been provided to you, and then the Facilities Committee recommends the rejection of all bids for the Yorkshire Elementary School secure entrance.
Second.
Motion, I need a second on that.
Well, I'll second it just for discussion. I'd like to know more about it.
Yeah, at the meeting, there was, that was one committee member, there was two, and a number of other people, and looking at the proposals that we had and the ideas, there was a good bit of concern and discussion, and the overall the committee was not inclined to put forth a recommendation because we were not, just did not feel comfortable with them, whether it was doing what we wanted it to do, whether the door was in the right place, whether the right materials. We just did not, and we would like to ask the administration to go back and consider any other options that might be available.
Well,
We just didn't feel that it was accomplishing what we wanted it to do. We didn't know if that room would always remain, an early, I don't know how we phrase it, but that Hildebrand room. We weren't sure that it was actually doing what we wanted it to do, regardless of whether we made it a vestibule or not, which you had referred to. We tried to look at the door at the end of that back corridor. There is another door, but then there's a staircase there, which would involve maybe, even if we didn't even know if it would be allowed to do something to the top of the steps, they couldn't get into the second floor, but then they still had the entire first floor that they could walk down. We just did not feel that this was accomplishing what we set out to do.
well, can't go ahead in your head.
Well, I just wondered if the timeline was discussed for the administration to come back with an
We did not give them necessarily a timeline, just asked them to go back, whether they look at it, whether they have core design look at it again. We did not specifically say, we just said we'd like to see if there is anything else out there that could be considered or should be considered.
Was there a notion of, I don't want to say a time, pin you down to a timeline, I'm just wondering when you might be coming back with some thoughts.
I would expect that we could come back, certainly by the December plan,
Okay.
no, because we have to go back to committee first. So Facilities Committee in November is when? Anybody know?
The week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we have to be-
Feasibly get to, but more likely Facilities Committee in December, which would get us
we meet on
here
the
in
16th.
in planning. Correct.
We have it.
Okay.
We didn't act until we see what the board wants us to do
Sure.
tonight.
Mrs. Stranger on the next question.
Well, my question, I guess, is, I'm hesitant to, certainly without knowing more firsthand, I guess, information, I'd be interested to know what the administration thinks in terms of, I mean, I don't want to say no when, I just think the administration plan was probably done by professionals who know what they're doing kind of thing. Is that, we had architects and engineers involved in the planning, so I'm just wondering if this is going to be the best plan or how administration felt about it.
Well, before I get to that, my one concern is that we not rush it, because if the board does, if the administration recommends full-day kindergarten, and the board approves full-day kindergarten, and there's a budget for full-day kindergarten, we may completely change how that building is used. So that would be my one concern. But my other recollection, this is why I wanted to say this, Dr. Merkel, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that the recommendation for this exterior entrance came from this administrative recommendation. It was raised as a recommendation or a suggestion by staff at a breakfast with the board, and the board directed the administration to investigate it, but the administration never recommended we put that door in.
I had forgotten that.
Okay, that came with the breakfast.
I would agree with that assessment, Ms. Leopold-Sharp. This did not emerge from an administrative recommendation. In fact, for years, we have, since its inception as a school, we used the entrance that was in place last year for the early learning. We had an increase in early learning enrollment, obviously, last year, and there was certainly some adjustment. Is it, the ideal situation in its current form? Absolutely not. What my understanding from the facilities committee, there were 2 members present. One had concern about the entrance and cutting a hole into a new building. Another had concern that there was a better, third alternative that hadn't been considered and was sent us, would have liked for us to consider. And then there was a non-committee member who expressed concern that perhaps it was not necessarily appropriate to move forward with this at all, because it was more a result of a reactionary staff getting right to the board as opposed to a full study to say, yes, we need this for this reason.
Understood, that helps me, thank you.
And it was also, you know, there's no question that the building is secure, and the way this entrance, the students get in and out is not presenting huge issues. They feel that the building is secure. We don't want anybody to think that, you know, it's not secure, and that's why we're doing this. We're doing this, considering this as a possible alternative to what we are doing now. I'm assuming you're pretty much aware of how the school is set up and where they were coming in and those kinds of things. So it is, it's a lot to consider.
Well, just a couple things. Everybody's right. This did come up. There was a concern expressed at a breakfast with the board session. And I think, you know, from that sort of was the driving force for exploration, I guess is the best way to put it. But I think the other thing that we probably need to think about with respect to, not specific to Yorkshire or this particular task, but just that whole breakfast with the board concept, if the idea is for staff to be able to be open with us and talk to us, and I think we need to respect that that's happening and acknowledge maybe somehow, and I don't know how this is best handled, obviously, I'm not the administrator, but maybe do we go back and say, you know, look, we've explored option A, just to keep that line of communication open, but the board, you know, we didn't forget about your concerns, here's what we're going to do. I mean, other things have come up at other breakfasts with the board that we've kind of done a little bit of a follow-up or maybe suggestion of the upcoming finance meeting. There's a topic on the agenda that, you know, resurrected another topic about tax credit. So I think we need to honor the intent of that gathering. I'm open to suggestions, though, or I think we should talk about at some point, maybe not tonight, but how we're respectful of the conversations that are taking place in this.
I think that communication is really quite good between the administrators and the staff with respect to those concerns relative to their building. I don't think there's an expectation of the staff that they bring up a concern at breakfast with the board and that there be some immediate resolution.
Agreed.
And so I think we have to be very careful that it doesn't become that. And so I think even the manner in which, I don't think there should be any apology that there's been no action to date, but continue to update, as I'm sure Dr. Stoltz has been doing with the staff, that, you know, we're continuing to work toward the most appropriate solution. I do want to speak to 2 other things that came up. One is, even if we go with full-day kindergarten, we expect the early learning rooms to remain where they are. So I want to be clear on that. And while we won't need the half-day enrichment, we would expect our preschool, we'd expect growth in preschool because we already have a waiting list there. And so we don't expect that to shift rooms. Much of the concern that was actually expressed at breakfast with the board last year was really about one, maybe a second individual. And so it was more about a situation than it was the entrance itself. And we threw the solution of the entrance to solve the problem of the one or potentially second individual. And so without that individual present this year, it really is not, we've also shifted some rooms and it's not near the level of concern that it's been. Yes, communication is important, and yes, that will continue.
Okay, thank you. That's where I was going. Thanks.
Any other concerns or thoughts? We all right there?
I wanted to make sure Dr. Stoltz was thinking I was doing justice to the circumstances.
Okay, then, we
I'll
need
just
a
call for the vote.
call for the vote. And Ms. Mason, I think on this, we should do a, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Eden,
Yes.
Freilich,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Leopold Sharp.
Yes.
That concludes my report, thank you.
Thank you very much. In Ms. Bates' absence, Mrs. Schaefer is going to do the personnel committee.
Okay. You have before you the personnel report, which includes resignation, appointment, employment, reassignment, leave of absence, building reassignment, substitute teachers, guest teachers, volunteer winter coaches, and volunteers. Would any board member like any items considered separately? Are there any questions on the volunteer items? If not, I would, substitute chair, would move approval of the members tonight.
Second.
I think, Ms. Mason, on this one, we will do a short roll call vote.
Okay, this will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
That concludes the personnel committee report.
Well, I'm trying to think whether I haven't mentioned policy to you, have I?
All I have to read.
Sure.
Are there any
I'm
other
sure.
policy committee members here other than you?
No.
I think not.
No.
I asked you to present those as well.
Okay. So I'm glad I just saw that. The September 27th minutes are provided, and there are a number of policies there for approval. First, before I put the motion out there, I just ask if anyone would like any of them considered separately. If not, then I would recommend approval or move that the following policies, 2A through D, are approved. Revisions.
Any other questions or discussion? Ms. Mason, a short roll call on that.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
Before I ask for additional committee reports, I want to share with you that Dr. Merkel and I spoke very briefly, and I've spoken very briefly with Ms. Bates, who is the longtime policy committee chair, and I've got a message out to Mr. Toman. For those of you who've been on the board for several years, know that we, in agonizing thoroughness, went through our policy manual, we revised everything, and then we created a review schedule. We think it's time to re-examine that to see whether there's so much work that we truly need a standalone committee, or whether the modest number of reviews, which at this point now the revisions are, maybe if there's a change in the law, PSCA or Ms. Day will recommend some rewording, whether we might handle that at the planning meeting and eliminate the need for a standalone monthly committee meeting. So there'll probably be some discussion about that at the December planning meeting, just so you know. Are there any other committees that wish to report out? Well, no, committees.
Oh, committee.
If not, then we're going to go to Mr. Robinson with the LAU report.
Nothing to report.
And Ms. Freilich, York Adams Academy.
I would just report that you saw in tonight's report, we have 12 students there, which is good to see. And we have a meeting tomorrow evening, at which time we are going to be given our very preliminary budget figures for the 17-18 school year. That is my report.
Thank you. And Ms. Mason, York Adams Tax Bureau.
There's a meeting Monday night.
Thank you. Mrs. Schrader, the York County School of Technology.
Yes, only to report that we have a meeting on Thursday.
Thank you. We have 3 visitors remaining, our stalwart gentleman and a dear friend and a suburban alum, her daughter. So we thank you for coming, and this is your final opportunity to make public comment. Do you wish to say anything, sir?
Well, thank you for letting us come tonight. It was very
kind.
It wasn't that long.
Good.
I think
they're not boring. Well, no, they're not too long.
And congratulations to the high school. It's a Blue Ribbon school.
You're a big part of that too.
I'll tell you, I taught Suburban for 27 years, and I loved every minute of it. I was grateful that Dr. Dovey hired me, and they kept me, and like I said, I enjoyed every day that I taught here, and I love the kids here and the faculty. And I miss it. I do miss it.
So for those of you who don't know, this is Frau Feldkovich, who was our German teacher, beloved German teacher.
Thank you for your role.
Yes,
in that
thank you.
board.
And for coming.
Thank you. And now she wants to become a teacher.
There you go.
All right, you're
Yeah.
good. The board committee meeting is scheduled, Ms. Fryrick said, so there's a finance committee meeting on Wednesday, to the best of our knowledge, although Ms. Mason and I are trying to find out if Mr. Posner will be back in town or not, or Mr. Toman, is there 2/3 of the committee?
There will be a meeting.
There will be the auditors, there'll be a meeting Wednesday.
Yeah, you have the
I'll
auditor
be
sitting
here
here.
anyway.
All right, Mr. Eden,
There
you
you
might
go.
have to be
I'll just be like, yes.
you might have to end up chairing the meeting.
Okay.
I'll come and keep you company.
And then there are a handful of meetings in November, and the schedule includes the dinner. If there are no other public comments, then I will, Ms. Fryer.
Yes, I just want to report that, Rich and I were at the PSBA conference last week. I went for 3 days, he came up on Saturday. And in the very near future, we'll be reporting out on some of the points of interest that we found
Wonderful, thank you.
interesting. I also want to say that the high school had a great concert the other evening. The band, the orchestra, the choral was absolutely outstanding. Particularly the string orchestra was just spot on there. They were really, really good. There was an outstanding art exhibit at the COD building downtown, which was very, very good. And then the program on the heroin epidemic was very well done in high school. I think it was well worthwhile. I know that the students had seen it earlier in the day, but there were some community members, and all of them very interested in the topic and what was going on. So thank you for that program.
Students saw a very different program, just so you know. The student program was very
It was
different.
somewhat, it was different, wasn't it? Yeah, but we had some really good conversation and interesting,
Sponsored by
CCC, yes, did a very good job. Thank you.
So thank you so much, sorry for attempting to cut you off there. We'll adjourn now, and we do have an executive session, we'll meet back here at 8:30.